Hello, everyone. How are you doing? How was your week? Or has it just started? We had a good week. Our last video, Band Baja Barat, is doing very well. Thank you so much for listening to it. We had a great time recording it, and we were hoping for you to like it. So, thanks again. Thank you so much. One thing that, we're going to be reaching a year's anniversary soon. And if there's one thing that the channel has become synonymous to, is to talk about content that not a lot of people are talking about for whatever reasons. I would say, like, they did not get as much reach, they did not get a proper platform, or whatever. So, we are always trying to recommend stuff that are good, that are really good, but it's not talked about as much. Like, for example, Band Baja Barat, when it came out, I think the only reason why it's not talked about as much is because it came out at the same time as Jabbi Met, and that's the reason it sort of went under the radar. So obviously, we would talk about um, Ted Lassos and Successions and all the things that's pop culture. Like, we would never stop talking about them because we are so passionate about these things. But we also want to talk about stuff that nobody else is talking about. And today's recommendation is also the lines of that because it came out sometime last year, but not a lot of people are talking about it. Not a lot of people know about this movie. Maybe because it hasn't got a wider release yet. But this movie is in no way less than any movie, any good movie that came out last year. Like, I made my top 10 list, I think sometime in December of last year. And I saw this movie after that. But I can say that this movie has made my top 10 movies of 2022 list because it's that good. I saw this movie like 3 or 4 months back in a film festival, but the movie hasn't left me at all. I still think about this movie. I still think about the characters. They're still so vivid in my brain. This is a Punjabi language movie, Punjabi Urdu from Pakistan, made by Saeem Sadiq. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And I can tell you this, every frame of this movie is a proper artwork. Now, this movie has been out for a while, and the smarter ones would know how to acquire it. But trust me, guys, if this movie is playing around you, is playing in theaters around you, I would recommend you to watch this on the biggest screen possible. I've seen this on a small screen and I've seen this on the big screen. And the experience that you have watching this movie on the big screen is just unparalleled. Every frame of this movie, the way the camera work is done in this movie, the way the camera focuses on characters, you have to experience it on the big screen. And it's not even that kind of an experience which will be elevated from a community watching or whatever. It's just that when you're watching it at home and when you're watching it in the theater, uh, the main difference that you'll notice in this movie is that you would not want any distractions when you're watching this movie. You would not want to look anywhere other than what this movie is trying to show you. And that's the beauty of today's recommendation, Joyland. Joyland basically tells the story of a family. Well, it's talking about a lot of things. It's very hard to pinpoint on just one theme that it's trying to convey or whatever. It's dealing with a lot of things, but the movie starts off with this family, this joint family. Now, the concept of joint family is very common in South Asian culture. It's basically about the children living with their parents, the sons mostly, with their wives and children. And there are advantages and disadvantages of it, which I don't want to get into right now. Well, if you watch this movie, you will have your own interpretation of of what it means to be in one. But yeah, so the joint family shown here basically consists of patriarch who has his two sons, out of which the elder one has three or four children with his wife, and the younger one is recently married. Now, the elder one is the first time that you meet him, you immediately know that he's a grade A asshole. He is a misogynist of the highest order. His wife has just given birth to a fourth daughter. They don't have any sons. And the first thing that he says to the nurse is that, but the scan showed that it's a son. And the nurse goes, oh, did it? Oh, maybe there was some problem with the machine. But he's devastated because his wife gave birth to a daughter. So that's him. Right from the first scene, we get to know what kind of a guy he is. But we also know at this point that a lot of the reason of him being this way is because of his father. So early on in the movie, when his wife, the older one's wife, tells them that after giving birth to four children, she is not able to handle the house chores. So what the father does is that he immediately suggests that the younger one's wife, who has a proper job, a job that she enjoys doing, we'll get to her later. But he suggests that she should give up her job and she should sit at home and help with the house chores. And this is the first picture that you get about this family. Now, the movie is mainly focused on our two protagonists, which is the younger son, Heather, and his wife, Mumtaz. Heather is completely opposite of his brother in the sense that he is super sensitive. There's a scene, I think one of the first scenes of the movie is where his father tells him to, I think it's Eid or something, and his father tells him to cut the goat in front of their courtyard. So he's holding down the goat with his arms, and he has a cleaver, and he's just not able to kill the goat. So what happens is Mumtaz, his wife, comes in and she takes the cleaver from his hand and she does it for him. So you immediately get to know not just the fact that he's sensitive, but also you also get to know about the dynamic of their relationship. He's unemployed. He doesn't have anything to do. He's looking for jobs. He's helping in the house chores while he's searching for jobs. And she is a successful makeup artist. She is working for a makeup company that does makeup at weddings or whatever. And there's a scene where you get to see how much she loves her job, how much she's passionate about the kind of job that she does. And Heather, again, is so opposite of what his brother is. He is so much supportive of what his wife does. They have such a sweet relationship between themselves. So when this happens, when she is made to quit a job that she loves so much to look after the children who are not even her children, she even says that, who will take care of the children? The older brother asks, and she's like, I don't know. They're not my children. So she fights. She does say no, but at the end of the day, it's the father that everybody listens to. So she can't do anything about it. She has to quit her job. And this is the first setback that we see of Mumtaz in the movie. You get to see there are so many sequences where you get to see how much she hates sitting at home and doing stuff that she thinks is monotonous. And on top of that, she's also pressurized to get pregnant. But the only good thing that she has in her life is a caring husband. Heather cares so much for her. He is just like her best friend. He understands her, she understands him. But even after so much love and care for each other, there is still something between them that feels incomplete. And the movie starts off by hinting what that might be. And then a few scenes later, you get to see what is actually the problem. And in comes what is my favorite character in the movie, Biba. Biba is a firecracker in every sense of the word. She doesn't take shit from anyone. She just lights up the screen every time she comes up. Every scene that we see of hers, she is dominating. She steals the scene. I think her name is Alina Khan, the actress who plays her. She has played one of my favorite characters that I've seen from last year. So Biba is this woman who is a dancer in an erotic theater group. It is like a theater group which is kind of burlesque. And from the first scene itself, the first scene that we see her in, you get to know what kind of a woman she is. She doesn't take shit from anyone, be it her subordinates, be it her boss. She doesn't care. She doesn't care who's paying her, who's not. She intimidates people. People are always scared of her. There's a scene where she's tutoring the dance interns and she's walking ahead of them and they're all following her. And at one point, an intern calls her Biba and is like, "It's not Biba for you. For you, I'm Madam. That's all you get to call me." And you immediately know what kind of person she is. She doesn't take slack from anyone and she doesn't let anyone mess with her. She obviously has weak moments, as you would have known by now. She is a trans woman. So someone who looks like her obviously has her struggles because the world that she's living in is not accustomed to seeing someone like her be this free and be this independent. So obviously she has struggles. She has people making fun of her all the time. And even the profession that she's in, a dancing profession, since it's erotic theater, a lot of most of the audience are hetero males. So she doesn't have that much of a demand. But she is also the best dancer in the group. But nobody cares about that because they only want to see hetero women dancing. And that's the reason why she finds it tough to make ends meet. She has money problems. She obviously has problems with her identity. But when you think about it, she is the exact opposite of Mumtaz. Now, Mumtaz is this character whose life is just getting worse and worse every day. She has to quit her job. People are pressurizing her to get pregnant. There is some riffraff between Heather and her. Whenever Mumtaz tries to get intimate with Heather, he doesn't want it because of obvious reasons. So, from Mumtaz's perspective, if you think about it, she doesn't have a job. She has to do stuff that she finds boring. She's pressurized to get a kid, and she's also sexually frustrated. And that comes out in a lot of scenes that we see, which I'm not going to spoil. That is for you to discover. So you see a character like Mumtaz for whom everything is going wrong and depression is just chewing her every single day. And then you have a character like Biba who's also having so many struggles in her life, but that doesn't get her down. She's always on her A game. She doesn't let her vulnerability out in front of anyone. And I think that is because she doesn't have the liberty to do that. Because she knows that as soon as she starts showing her vulnerable side, that is when the game goes down for her. So she has to put on a brave face all the time. So Heather, head over heels, smitten by her right from the first time he sees her. And rightfully so, because she has an extravagant personality. So Heather starts fascinating her and he starts cheating on Mumtaz. Mumtaz does not know because she obviously doesn't know. that he's gay. And the concept of cheating is also something I don't think the movie is condoning, and it has a brilliant way of showing. That is something I won't get into. I think that will be treading spoiler territory. Now, the movie is talking about a lot of themes. So we see the lives of Heather and Mumtaz, and through Heather, we explore Biba. So the movie is talking about a lot of themes. The movie is talking about sexuality. The movie is talking about freedom, obviously. The movie is talking about family drama. Now, my favorite family dramas are the ones that are dysfunctional. And this is one hell of a dysfunctional family. I think so. There's a scene, there's a climax, like one of the many climaxes of the movie. I'm not going to spoil this, but I'm just going to talk about something that happens that brings out the whole family drama dynamic. So there's a night that happens, which I like to call Joyland Night. I'll talk about the title or whatever my interpretation of why this movie is called Joyland is. I'll talk about that later. But there's a night that I want to call the Joyland Night where something very weird happens to every single family member. The father, the older brother, younger brother, their wives. Something very weird happens, something very awkward happens that they all experience. Like, it's not one experience. Like, there are different things that they experience. The father experienced something else, the sons experience something else, and so on. And there's a scene, the morning after scene, where they all are sitting together and the camera zooms towards each of those family members, and you get to know how awkward it is for them to sit in front of each other while something that they've experienced that nobody in that room knows. But it is still awkward for them because it's still going on in their mind. And it is so funny, that sequence. And this is such a great way of showing the dysfunctional family. Like, the reason why they are so awkward with each other is because they don't have the freedom of expression in their family. Everybody is hiding something in the family. They don't have anyone that they can talk to freely. So yeah, it's one of the most funniest things in the movie. And just to let you know, this movie is, even though it's exploring a lot of heavy themes, this movie is funny as hell. Like, for me, like, the Biba scenes are obviously the funniest. There's a rivalry that she has with another dancer in the group who's obviously more popular than her, even though Biba is a much, much better dancer than her. But it's the that the people want to see. So the comebacks that Biba has are so funny. Every time the rival takes a dig at her, Biba always has a comeback for her. I can't I can't talk about them right now because I'm afraid that I might even get flagged for profanity. But those are some of the funniest comebacks that I've ever heard. So watch out for that. But yeah, Joyland is funny as hell, even though you might think that this movie has played in film festivals and everything. It is still, I would say, a very accessible movie. You'll have a great time. Like, the dance sequences that Biba has will make you get up from your seat and start dancing on your own. It's that amazing. And to see a character like Biba, whose life is so much in shambles, but whenever life has given lemons to her, she has made masala lemonade out of it. And that's proper motivation for someone who's looking for one. My interpretation of the title Joyland is because, since this is an ensemble, and even though the movie is exploring different characters, for me, I think the movie revolves around the character of Mumtaz. Whatever happens in the movie, it is somewhat always related to her character. Be it Biba, be it Heather, be it anyone else, their actions, the other characters' actions, has a reaction on Mumtaz's life. And the reason why it's called Joyland is because Mumtaz, at one point in the movie, visits a fair which is called Joyland. And that night that she goes there with her sister-in-law. I think her name is Nuchi. She goes to that fair, Joyland Fair, with Nuchi, and she has the time of her life. And she enjoys every minute of it. And this is a character who's been bogged down by so much bad things that's happening in her life. And that's the only time we get to see in the movie, we get to see her having fun, having so much joy. And that's all I want to talk about her character. Life is so much cruel to her. But when she's in that ride, but when she's on that merry-go-round, she forgets every single problem in her life and she enjoys that night. There are a few more things that she does in that night that I won't get into. But yeah, the main crux is that that night she feels happy, but above all, she feels free. And I think that's the main concept. And I think that's the main theme of Joyland, what freedom means to an individual. It has also got one of my favorite endings, obviously not talking about it, but the way we leave these characters. So there's this thing in the movie where the camera focuses on a character's face for a long time, just the character thinking about something, and you start guessing what the character is thinking at that point. So it almost feels like you know these characters, even though it's what, like a 2 hour movie or something. You feel like you've known these characters for a long time. So when the camera leaves you at the end, you feel like you're saying goodbye to these characters. And that's the beauty of Joyland. That's what Joyland is all about. Again, if you get a chance, please watch it on the biggest screen possible. You're gonna, trust me, you're gonna have a great time watching it. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, you're gonna have so many, so many mixture of emotions. And if you like this video, please like it. Please comment. Please tell me what you thought about it. We just we just need feedback at this point. And don't forget to subscribe as well. We have lots of interesting content coming up in the next few weeks, and we can't wait to share that with you. So till then, till next week, you're watching Cremechiss, and this is me, Sanket, signing off. Bye bye.